Welcome to Tuesdays with Terry. We're excited, our third episode here at Aquinas College, and we have a couple of great guests today. We're going to be talking about things education, things history, a little bit of first year seminar, lots of things happening on this episode of Tuesdays with Terry. So again, we're excited that you're joining us, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts as well as we continue to develop the show here at Aquinas College. All things Aquinas from all things in our community. So without any further delay, I'm very excited today to welcome my first guest, Sister Justine Kane, who is our Dean of Education and Associate Professor of Education, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. So thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
So we want to learn a little bit about kind of some new and exciting things that may be happening in education. And then we also want to get to know you today.
Okay. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you would say are exciting and happening right now in education.
Well, we're really excited about our elementary and secondary majors. One of the things that we think is really strong about our majors are that our students get into the classroom in every class.
Yep.
So we get asked that a lot by students who want to come to Aquinas, and they ask, when do I get to go into a classroom? And we say in every class from the first class.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of working with students and processing what they're experiencing and who they're experiencing, and helping them integrate the content knowledge with the practice. And so we're really excited about that. One of our new initiatives, a couple of our new initiatives, is that we're partnering with EduBadges.
Okay.
And EduBadges is a company that helps students, especially teachers, work with technology in the classroom. So for example, in my early literacy class, my students do an EduBadge called Technology with Littles.
Oh, okay.
And so it's working with K-2 students and helping them learn how to use a keyboard, helping them learn how to log in, remember their password.
Yeah.
You know, all of the things like don't hold your finger down on the key because it won't work, you know, press the caps, you know, button. And so we also do a lot of really basic things like how to use a spreadsheet, how to use Google Forms, how do you edit. A lot of students come in with a lot of telephone technology. You know, they know how to use their iPhone.
Yeah, they're comfortable with the phone, but not so much the overall system.
And we've even had students come in and say, I'm not really a tech person. And we say, well, really you have to be in order to be a teacher. You have to be able to keep records in technology, communicate with parents through technology. You really have to be comfortable. So that's our goal with that. And so we're really excited. This is our first semester where we've got everybody doing it. And we've gotten some really positive feedback from the EduBadge folks. There are only 2 colleges in the United States that make that part of their program. And we're one of those 2. The other thing that we're working on, which is pretty new, is we're partnering with the Sustainability Office. And we're trying to connect new teachers to our sustainability mission. Like not just how do we get kids to not waste things, or not just teaching kids about how to teach sustainability, but how to run a classroom that's sustainable. How to have a school where things get recycled, where compost happens, where gardening happens. So we're working, we're at the really foundational levels of that right now in working with the Sustainability Office at Aquinas to think about how can we make that a key feature of our education program so that our teachers are really aware of the importance of the planet, the importance of how children are growing up in this new planet. So those are some tangential things that we're doing, but we're doing some really, we're just always doing some interesting things. We also have a graduate program, accelerated graduate program in initial certification, and that program has gone online since the fall of 2024, and we are partnering with dioceses all across Michigan so that if you live in the Upper Peninsula and you want to be a teacher, but you can't get to Aquinas.
Yeah.
We can work with your diocese, your principal,
Yeah.
your school, so that you can get initial certification if you have a bachelor's degree. And we can work through with their expertise, and our expertise in the classes are online. So we're really excited about that new shift in our capacity as an education program.
And I think it speaks to many of the things that we've talked about here on the show already, even, this being our third episode, is really that Aquinas difference. And you're really speaking to that, because I think one of the things when we look at education and we think about, maybe our student directly out of high school that's coming in and maybe says, I want to teach first grade. Like, I really want to do that. And I think that ability to, okay, you're going to have some early elementary experiences early on. And I would think probably some people change. Is that correct?
Oh, that's absolutely correct. We often have students will say exactly that. I only want to teach first grade. But our program gets them into classrooms for pre-kindergarten, the year before kindergarten, all the way to sixth grade. And they'll say, well, I don't want to teach sixth grade. And we'll say, yes, but go in and see what you think. I mean, have the experience. You don't, when you graduate, you can choose to be certified in the area that you prefer, either pre-K to 3 or 3-6. But our program takes you across both levels. And oftentimes somebody will come in and say, oh, I really didn't think I was going to like that, but I love those kids. So it really helps students see that they can do all sorts of different levels of kids. But also the other thing, we have a lot of students come in and say, I want to be a special ed teacher. And what we do in our program is we recognize that most special ed students are located in regular ed classrooms. So we work with all of our regular ed teachers to understand, how do you address the needs of special needs children in your regular classroom. Children who are do not speak English as a first language, who are English language learners, children who have special needs either in learning or because they live in a high poverty neighborhood. Like, how do we meet the needs of all children in a regular classroom? And then we say to them, get 3 or 4 years of experience in a regular classroom. And then decide to come back and do an endorsement in one area or another. But many students want to get right out there and do it right out the gate. And we'll say to them, you won't get hired that way. That principal is going to stick you in a regular classroom. So let's build on that. So we really have worked with our community partners to understand what are the experiences of our students going to be when they get out in the field, and then how can we help them navigate that?
And we have such a need, right? We have such a need for educators, particularly in the K-12, and not just K-12, pre-K as well.
Pre-K-12,
And I think that's a piece, and I appreciate what the what the department, has done, to continue to be innovative, because we have to be innovative. And also, I'll give a shout out to our education department for recently going through our CAPE process as well. And, we'll continue to wait and get that report, but I think that's an interesting piece of, it's not only being innovative, but it's being innovative and also working, with the multiple stakeholders we have to fulfill our accreditation requirements. So again, a thank you to you and the department. Absolutely.
I work with some fabulous people.
Yes. So now I want to ask a question about you, because we've known each other now since I've been here a little bit.
For sure.
But I've never asked you this question.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw it out here.
All right, do it.
So what made you decide to go into education? Like, what was like this is what I want to do?
I think was interesting, the first time I thought I would be a teacher was when I was a sophomore in high school. And my best friend injured her knee, and so she couldn't walk, so she was home. So I would come home every day and reteach her the biology. And her grade went from a C to a B, and her mother said to me, you should be a biology teacher. And so then when I came to Aquinas, I went to the Ireland. I went on the Ireland program
That's
when
right.
I was
fellow alum of the Ireland program.
And when I was there, I worked in the schools in Letterfrack.
Okay.
And worked with kids and just really appreciate. I think the thing that I love the most about being and having been an elementary teacher is I love to learn all different subjects. And elementary teachers teach everything. They teach science.
They do, yeah.
And math and literacy and so social studies. And I loved being able to do that and integrate that. And so that's the thing that I love about teaching the most.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I've been wanting to ask you that question.
Yeah.
One of the segments we do here on the show is for also our viewers to get to know our guests.
Okay.
So this is kind of a rapid fire series of questions, and don't overthink them. Just respond as you just what comes to mind. Just respond. Are you ready?
Sure.
What's your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip with walnuts.
Ooh, with walnuts.
Oh, gotta have walnuts.
Oh, that's a nice addition. So, do these have ties to a particular holiday, or can we expect?
They're always homemade.
Okay,
they have to be homemade.
Yes.
And we usually, in my family, we always made them at Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Okay. So I think one of the things, not saying that if there happens to be a batch of these and part of it's dropped off here at the Provost office, there'd be no complaints.
No, there would be no complaints. No.
That's awesome. Okay, here's our next one. Your favorite ice cream?
Ice cream, I would have to say, is Deer Tracks, Hudsonville Deer Tracks.
Again. And then with the chocolate chip walnut cookies, we're on
we're chocolate on it, yeah.
Your favorite cheese?
I grew up on Long Island in a very Italian village of Westbury, and so I have to say mozzarella.
Okay.
I said we grew up with a lot of Italian food and dishes, and so I'm a big pasta eater with mozzarella.
A classic that we ask our guests that's always interesting to me: do you prefer gloves or mittens?
I prefer gloves.
Oh, and would you expand why?
I don't know. I think mittens are too clunky.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to, have control.
Have control. The use
of my fingers.
The use of the fingers. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And our last one. What would be a memorable kind of early elementary memory for you? What would be?
I think in elementary school, I grew up on Long Island, and when I was in the second grade, the Candid Camera show came to our school.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And so I was in second grade, and a guy came up to me on the playground and said, "Would you like to, do you have a boyfriend?" And I said, "Of course." And he said, "Can you meet me in the library?" And I said, "Okay." And when I got home and told my mother that story, she just about lost her. But anyway, we went to the library and we stood in front of this mirror in the square, and he said, "So we need your help trying on sweaters for college students. And so all you need to do is button it from the top to the bottom, and then unbutton it, and that's all you need to do." So we did, and we got to the bottom, and there was an extra buttonhole. So I said to my friend, just fold it under, so you put one button through two buttonholes. And then they came in, and that was the end of it. And when I got home, my mother's like, "What? Who was this guy, and where did you go?" And so she called our neighbor, who was the elementary school librarian, and she told them. So I still have my letter from Alan Funt and my check for $22. And so there was a show, and I was in probably closer to the third grade, in everybody in my neighborhood. All the kids in my neighborhood were on the show. It was great.
That is awesome.
It's fabulous.
Now, is there a clip that exists somewhere?
We have tried to find it. We've actually contacted the Candid Camera show, but they moved from New York to California, and so they don't have a lot of those old. And if they do, they don't know where they are. That's what they told us.
This is fascinating, and I look out to our viewers of, is this a possibility that we can rally together to try to find this clip?
This clip, of course, yes.
This would be fascinating to have, I think. And, there's power in viewership. So, we may be able to see what we can do.
Yep. Well, if you do, that's great, because we were My sisters and I have been trying to find it, but we can't.
So when, like detail-wise, like when did this occur? So
1960 something. I have the letter from Alan Funt. I think
Okay.
it's like 1965. I think it was
Okay.
something like that. I can't remember exactly
Okay.
the year,
this
but
is awesome.
I
Yeah.
know. So, and at the end of the show, he says to everybody, "Well, there's always somebody who figures it out," and there I am, and figuring it out, and
Oh,
so
that is
it was
fantastic.
great. So
Yeah.
our whole family and the whole neighborhood, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I think that's a piece of how we continue to learn new things about our guest here on Tuesdays with
Yep.
Terry. So this is fascinating.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
This has been awesome. And, we'll stay connected about happenings in education and so forth. And we'll be back. I want to thank Sister Justine and taking her time today to chat with us. We'll be back with our next guest here on Tuesdays with Terry. Welcome back to Tuesdays with Terry. We're very excited for our second guest today. We have Bethany Kilcrease here with us, and we're going to talk things around history. We're going to talk a little bit about first year seminar, and then we're going to get right into Biscuit's Corner, because I know that's an important thing. You've set some great photos in to talk about your pet as
Yes,
well.
I'm most excited about Biscuit's Corner.
Excellent.
Yes.
So one of the things we like to do here on the show is talk a little bit about really your passion in your discipline. So before we started the show, we were talking, you're a historian.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like that passion, what's your area, and a little more, just so our viewers kind of know.
Yeah, sure. Kind of a weird thing. Actually, when I was in high school, I was planning to come to college to be an electrical or mechanical engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I took all of the AP physics and drafting. I was right in between CAD, I guess, and actually drafting by hand and things like that. But I also had a teacher in high school who said, history really matters too, because I love that as well.
Yeah.
And it'd be, good if there were more female history professors out there. And I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah.
So I wound up going to college for history. Really enjoyed it, found a passion for it, and then just felt really called to go on and get a Ph.D. and teach that to other people, especially because I just think it's so important for understanding what's going on in the world. I don't really see how you can understand what's happening in the world today, politically, socially, culturally, religiously, without an understanding of the past to give you a context of that. And I think one of the most important soft skills that history teaches is empathy as well, which I think really is important to help us come together.
And what, like, if I were to say, what's your specialization?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Probably too specialized for people to really be that interested in, but my specialization is late 19th, early 20th century British intellectual political history.
Okay. Okay. So.
Especially church-state relations.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating. And when you take that and then you put it into the classroom, obviously you make it your own, which I know you've done a lot of great things in the classroom, tying in many of your passion areas. And particularly one of the things that I mentioned we kind of talk a little bit about is your experience in the block and some of the things that you were able to do with our students. And I know we saw a lot of the pictures and the experiences that they've had. What kind of, now that we're in this, I think we're moving into the fourth block now, this part of the semester. So when you did that earlier in the semester, and I know you shared some of the feedback from the students about that experience. What sticks out to you about some of their thoughts that they shared?
One of the things this is actually my second go around with the block, so I taught in it the previous fall as well. But this time in particular, just getting to know, I guess, neighbors in the sense of other people around Grand Rapids and Aquinas College better. There was one student feedback remark that mentioned, well, I really deeply hold my religious beliefs. I'm teaching history of world religions in this block. And the student said, I have these deeply held religious beliefs, but I didn't really understand that other people also had these deeply held beliefs outside of an intellectual sense. And so to really understand what drives people to hold the values that they do, and also to a big degree drives larger actions throughout history and today. I think that's been really valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece of, and I continue to say this on the show, we're in our third episode, is the aspect of, it truly is kind of the Aquinas difference. And people ask me, well, how is Aquinas different? And I speak, to many of these things, and that ability to locate yourself where you're at in your own kind of developmental timeline, and then critically look at how you make decisions, what's your reference point for those. And we're seeing that. We saw that in action with your course, and it was fun to see the, from a student's perspective, those photos that came through. So it was really powerful. You have another role as well, kind of here at Aquinas.
New role,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Tied around first year seminar, first year experience type thing. So, kind of tell me a little, like, what interest there? I know some previous work that you've done. Like, talk a little bit about, like, kind of your interest area there as well.
Yeah, my major interest area there, I think, really ties into what I like about history and Aquinas College in particular. Yeah. And also what we've been able to do with the block program. And that's in terms of especially building community in a way that can enable us to do other things, serve, study, obviously, and also allow students to develop their spirituality or mental and emotional health, however they would like to phrase that. Yeah. And I would definitely, like to see our first year seminar become something of a standout program in the area, where students are doing a lot of experiential learning, focused on community building, all that kind of stuff, and getting out of the classroom, right? And able to really delve into a particular subject area that aligns with our mission, and then can also give them the types of skills, reading, writing, communicating, that they need to jet them up into the higher level classes in major area. Yeah. Things like that.
And I think there's going to be some exciting things happening over the next few months around
absolutely.
This.
I hope so.
I know.
I really hope so. I've got ideas. So.
And I know that, like, there's some meetings that are starting to get put into place. And I know there's been conversations around, like, oh, we can have Bethany come to this. So not to add more meetings to your schedule, but I think that's an exciting piece of how we build this for the next year and moving forward is really about our students and how do we take what we've learned. We've learned a lot the last couple of years about, engagement, experiential learning, and then how do we take this to the next level? So that's exciting.
Yeah, and it seems like deepening that community really helps tie students to each other and to Aquinas College. And not to say that retention is the most important thing, but it's something that will keep students moving through their college education. So they're able to really get that degree and leverage that and become lifelong learners.
And find their passion. Find their passion. And I think that looking at that, first year here is really, about exploring that and making these dedicated, experiences available. And it's awesome. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too. We'll find out.
We'll find out. Exactly. Yeah, we'll find out together. Yeah, we'll find out.
It's a journey.
It is. It's one where I think as we continue to explore, continue to think of ideas, utilizing, we're utilizing in these conversations, not only student feedback, but, our faculty feedback, our staff feedback, and really collectively looking at what we can do. So again, very excited for what we'll do in the future and what things will look like in the fall.
For sure.
Yeah. You're excited for this part of the show. I know you are. This is Biscuits Corner.
Oh, yes.
So Biscuits Corner, and through the magic of technology, right? We're going to have this happen right here.
Okay.
I feel
like I'm like a weather person.
So we can't really see it. But it's going to be here.
It's sunny in Chicago.
But over here in Florida, Okay. So as you think about Biscuits Corner, we think some of the doorways, I believe, in getting to know others is talking about their pets.
Yes.
I think that kind of is a doorway, a window, whatever we want to call it. So we've had this segment on the show, and not everyone has a pet, which is perfectly okay. But this is an opportunity for us now to learn, Bethany, about your pet. So tell us a little about these pictures are fantastic.
All right. Okay. So my pet's name is a cat. His name is Nicholas Otto Kilcrease. Oh. So our pets always have middle names.
Fair, yes.
He is a rescue pet. He came
Excellent.
from Crash's Landing.
Okay.
So just a little plug for Crash's Landing. I volunteered there for about 7 years prior to us getting Nicholas.
Yep.
And he's an FIV positive cat.
Okay.
So, which means he's immunocompromised. So people don't oftentimes adopt those types of cats, but he's just the most loving, best child-friendly cat that there is. You can like carry him around like a sack of potatoes. He just wants to be with you and cuddle up. So yes, he's great.
So you mentioned there are some like a rotating rule that occurs. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so my kids have sort of shared custody of Nicholas because he wants to sleep with one of them every night and they want to have him, so they swap. So my youngest daughter, Ruth, will have him one night, Miriam or Miri, my oldest the other night, and if they want to, trade something, they can, I'll give you an extra night with Nicholas if you give me this thing.
Oh, so there's negotiation.
They can also negotiate.
Okay,
Yeah, teaches good negotiation.
Yes, yes. That's awesome. And it sounds like, how long has Nicholas been a part of the family?
Boy, it's really bad that I don't know off the top of my head, but I think about 4 years.
Okay, perfect.
About 4 years.
And Nicholas, clearly by the photos that we're seeing, is truly a part of the Kilcrease family.
He is very much a part of the family. Yeah, he's in every activity. If you're doing something,
yes.
I think there was a pumpkin carving picture. I don't think you have that, but he'll just like come over and flop in the middle because you're not paying attention.
Perfect.
To him.
Excellent. Make sure that, hey, I'm here.
Yes.
Yep. Pay attention to me. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with folks.
Absolutely.
Our last segment that we'll do is like a rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm going to ask.
I'm here for it.
You ready?
Yeah, go.
I'm just going to
Go.
throw out
Do it.
questions. You just answer first thing that comes to mind.
First thing that comes to mind.
Again, pets open the door and window.
Okay.
This also opens the door.
Here we go.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip.
Okay. What's your favorite cookie?
Oh man, that's a hard one. There's the ones that are like, what are they called? They're like chocolate and they're kind of Christmas and they've got like the sugar dusting on top. You know what I mean? No, but they're good. They're
Okay.
Good.
Oh.
Those ones that my mother-in-law makes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Maxine.
Okay. See, there you go. You put that in there. Okay. Well done. We're going to think of it when the show is done.
Yeah,
we'll think of the exact name. Okay. So we got cookie. We got ice cream. Yeah. What's your favorite cheese?
Ooh. Jarlsberg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gloves or mittens?
Glovins.
Oh, okay. Explain.
Yeah. So the kind that have, like your fingers are exposed and there's a flap and you can put it over.
Okay.
Because if you're out hiking or doing something, you need to be able to like tie a line or whatever. You can have your fingers exposed. And then if it's chilly, you can put it over like that. So.
And just because I know, I'm going to throw this one in here. Favorite place to fish?
Favorite place to fish? Actually, I don't know if you do. Probably Pure Marquette Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I'm thinking like holistically.
Yeah. No, that's perfect because I knew like we've had conversations about fishing quite a bit. So I'm like, I want to ask her what's her favorite place to fish.
Yeah. Well, especially because I can go with my girls.
Yes.
And it's relatively, it's relatively easy for them, even if you're not on a boat, right? Just to cast out. And they can get something. So that's fun.
If you could go to the airport right now and take a trip somewhere, where would you go?
I'd go to Boston.
Okay.
I haven't been there since grad school. My Ph.D. was from Boston College, and I just really miss it.
Yeah.
Friends there, it's just so fun. It's a lovely city, and I really want to go back sometime.
Excellent. Yeah. And our last one is what is a most memorable elementary school memory that you have? Like one that sticks out.
Most memorable. I guess I'd have to say I was telling my girls about this recently that I won the pumpkin decorating contest 2 times in a row.
Oh.
Yeah.
In what grades?
Elementary school. I think it was like, don't quote me, but I think like maybe 3rd and 4th or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the carving wasn't so great, but you had to decorate the whole pumpkin.
Okay. So it was a holistic.
It was a holistic thing.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you.
Yeah. And thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. And thank you, Bethany, for coming on the show. This is awesome. And I think as we continue to learn more. And as we get into the plans for the fall, we could have you back to share a little more about what first year seminar comes together.
Yeah, and I don't know where I'm looking, but students over here, please come talk to me if you have any history questions or questions about first year seminar, or if you have ideas, because I think it's really important to get student feedback into where first year seminar goes. So any ideas, thoughts, concerns, come talk to me. Love to talk to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bethany.
Yeah.
And we are out of time for Tuesdays with Terry this week, and I want to thank our guests, Sister Justine and Bethany, for coming on the show. It's really a great opportunity to learn about different areas here at Aquinas College. And again, if you're interested in coming on the show, feel free to reach out and email me. We're excited at the lineup that we have coming over the next few weeks as well. And again, feel free. This is about all things Aquinas, and as you can see today, we're talking all things Aquinas. But also, I think one of the most important pieces that we have is getting to know the members of our community. That way, everybody can kind of see really truly our passions and who we are as individuals within the Aquinas College community. So again, thank you for being a part of Tuesdays with Terry. Have a great week and see you next time.